Taiwanese people say they will remain level-headed as China ramps up its threats. Trumped-up charges? The former U.S. president says he's innocent ahead of a historic court appearance. Migrant worker activists are calling for an end to the broker system. Plus,
I'm at the 2023 Megapore Festival, the most iconic music festival in the southern city of Kaohsiung.
hello and welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Eric Gao. Starting off with Taiwan news, President Tsai Ing-wen will meet with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California on Wednesday. They'll meet in Los Angeles, where Tsai will be stopping over for 2 days on her way back to Taiwan from Central America. Our reporter Jaime Ocon is in California and sent this update.
Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen will make a 2-day transit stop here in California on Wednesday before heading home. She's coming back from a 10-day state visit to Taiwan's allies Guatemala and Belize. But it's the stopover in Los Angeles that's being closely watched by the rest of the world. This is the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, and according to U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's office, it's going to be the setting for a high-profile visit between McCarthy and Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen. Just 2 days before the visit is taking place, and TaiwanPlus found what appears to be U.S. and Taiwan officials already making security arrangements at the Reagan Library. Beijing says it will take unspecified countermeasures if a meeting between Tsai and McCarthy takes place. China considers Taiwan to be part of its territory and discourages any attempts by Taiwan to appear on the world stage. In August of 2022, then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi met with Tsai in Taiwan, and Pelosi was the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit the country in 25 years. That prompted large-scale military drills from China, which simulated a blockade of the island. And even though this trip is on U.S. soil, the United States has warned China against using these meetings as a pretext for military action.
The People's Republic of China should not use this transit as a pretext to step up any aggressive activity around the Taiwan Strait. The United States and China have differences when it comes to Taiwan, but we have managed those differences for more than 40 years.
Tsai's meeting with Speaker McCarthy at the Reagan Library will be the last part of her transit stop in California as she wraps up a 10-day visit to Central America. Taiwan's president says that external pressure will not deter her government from engaging with the outside world. And with China threatening to retaliate over the visit, it's yet to be seen what their reaction will actually be. Howard Zhang and Jaime Ocon in Los Angeles for TaiwanPlus.
Meanwhile, China has said that it will closely monitor the meeting between Tsai and McCarthy. But as James Chater reports, despite China's threats, many people here in Taiwan say that they will remain calm.
It's a meeting that Beijing has described as a severe provocation. Confirmation now that Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen will meet with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in Los Angeles on Wednesday. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory, vows to take the island nation by force, and lambasts interactions between U.S. and Taiwanese officials. Beijing has already promised resolute measures in response to the Tsai-McCarthy meeting. When Tsai met with then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi last year, Beijing shot a missile over Taiwan in 4 days of unprecedented live-fire drills. But despite China's threats now, people in Taipei are calm.
我们就平常心吧，对，就是平常心就好了。因为毕竟说每一个人的想法不一样，那如果真的多余的担心，只会让自己恐慌而已。
因为现在这全世界的局势比较紧张，让我觉得台湾能够跟美国有更深入的交往是不错的。
你如果说什么事都什么话都不讲，那他们可能只会更压迫你。所以说，我觉得自己要做一些事情，我也为自己做一些事情，对。
Responding to China's latest threats, Taiwan's foreign ministry said Taiwan has the right to develop ties with countries around the world. It added, even if authoritarian governments expand and increase coercion, Taiwan will not back down. Tsai's meeting with McCarthy is a delicate dance of geopolitics, and it puts Beijing in a particularly tough spot. Do nothing and they risk frustrating their domestic audience, but react too strongly and it could harden Taiwanese attitudes toward China, ahead of presidential elections here early next year. Taiwan's opposition Kuomintang, or KMT, favours closer ties with China but denies being pro-Beijing. A party spokesperson said KMT members wish Tsai well and hope the meeting produces tangible economic outcomes.
The key is what both President Tsai and the Speaker will say, and whether it is more symbolic than substantial to the bilateral relationship.
Ko Wen-je, the chair of Taiwan's third largest party, the Taiwan People's Party, and a potential presidential candidate, said the meeting is normal for a global leader.
台湾海峡两岸的距离是固定的，但是两岸的人心是变动的，所以太多的文攻武吓啊、打压，是让台湾人的人心跑得更远而已。
Beijing's reaction to Pelosi's visit to Taiwan last year created what analysts call a new normal of higher cross-strait tensions. The question now is whether China will match or even exceed that response. Alex Chen and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
Before leaving for the U.S., President Tsai delivered a speech at Belize's National Assembly, thanking the country for its friendship and support of Taiwan.
On behalf of the people of Taiwan, I want to take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to the government of Belize and all the members of the House and the Senate. Your unwavering friendship and support means so much to us. Thank you.
Tsai also highlighted commercial, cultural, and educational exchanges between the two countries. At the end of her address, Belizean officials presented Tsai with a copy of a resolution supporting Taiwan. This was passed shortly before her visit to the country. Tsai's visit to Guatemala and Belize is meant to reaffirm ties with 2 of its 13 remaining diplomatic allies. But what can Taiwan do to gain more international support? Our reporter Jaime Ocon spoke to Riley Walters, a security analyst with the Hudson Institute, to find out.
Just days before Tsai left Taiwan, Honduras did break ties with the country. Can you kind of talk about what Taiwan can do to kind of mend the situation of dwindling diplomatic allies and maybe trying to manage that by trying to find other countries that it can maybe build unofficial ties with?
It's a little bit difficult to kind of, look at the crystal ball and see what they're going to do. I think if we look at past instances, generally what happens is, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs comes out with some really harsh criticism of either U.S. Taiwan, and then sometimes we'll usually see an increase in PLA activity in the Taiwan Strait. I don't think we've seen any of that just yet. Maybe as the week progresses and she comes back, and if they do meet, if Tsai and McCarthy meet, we could probably see some increase in activity. Right now, I don't see that activity increasing, but it's not uncommon.
And going forward, do you think we're going to see more cooperation between Taiwan and other countries that don't necessarily have relations with Taiwan officially, but unofficially do support Taiwan and its effort to kind of manage this sort of growing aggression from China?
I think they could find a balance. I think they are balancing pretty well. Obviously, the United States is a key important partner in the Indo-Pacific, and we do a lot of trade and investment and other activities with Taiwan, much more than I would say maybe with some of their diplomatic partners. So it really is a balance between the two. Of course, they should try and maintain the good partnerships where they can, but sometimes your diplomatic partners change, and leadership in those countries change, and so sometimes these things happen. It's not something that we should really welcome, but from what I understand with Honduras changing their diplomatic status, we can't necessarily change the internal politics of other countries.
Other countries in the area, like Japan and the Philippines, have also made contingency plans in case of a possible invasion of Taiwan. Can you talk about this sort of changing security environment in Asia?
I'm glad you mentioned Japan. I think they're probably the best example of how they're rethinking about the security environment in the Indo-Pacific. You could call it what you want, just either because of the changing aggressive tone from China or because of Russia's invasion in Ukraine. A lot more people, but a lot more countries are thinking about security, and specifically security in the Indo-Pacific. Japan last year revised their national security strategies with a main focus on the increasing challenge that China presents. Other countries in the region as well, they're thinking about how they engage more in security in the region. South Koreans, the Yoon administration there, the Albanese government in Australia, they're all thinking about how to rethink about security in the region. And so for the Japanese, I think they have probably the most consideration for the security around Taiwan besides the United States. They are arguably the next closest country to Taiwan. Okinawa is just right off of there, not too far. And so last year, I actually happened to interview with the late Shinzo Abe about his thoughts on Japan-Taiwan relations. And I think what we're going to continue to see is an increasing bilateral engagement between Japanese officials, Japanese companies, Taiwanese officials, Taiwanese companies, and so on and so forth.
That was Jaime Ocon speaking to Hudson Institute security analyst Riley Walters. While President Tsai is in the Americas, her predecessor, former President Ma Ying-jeou, is continuing his historic but controversial visit to China. On Monday, he met with the Communist Party secretary for the southwestern Chinese city of Chongqing, where he called for continued bilateral exchanges.
带着台湾的年轻朋友来和大陆同学们交流，希望能够让两岸人民间的敌意逐渐减缓。 友谊逐渐增加，未来两岸才有真正的和平。两岸都有责任像这样的交流持续下去。
Ma was Taiwan's president from 2008 to 2016, but he's touring China in a personal capacity. He is currently visiting Chongqing, where the Kuomintang government set up a temporary wartime capital from 1938 to 1946. He will visit several historic sites in the area before heading to Shanghai on April 6th. Most migrant workers need to use brokers to find jobs here in Taiwan. However, many activists are calling foul, saying the current system is exploitative. Bing Wang reports.
This confined space is where a Filipino migrant worker lives as a maid and caregiver for a Taiwanese family. She has to remain anonymous for fear of being fired. Like many of the 700,000 migrant workers in Taiwan, the 32-year-old single mother is here to make money to support her family back home.
I came here to Taiwan to have a work, right? Because salary wages there in the Philippines is very low, and I really need to take care of my family there to send help there.
Before coming to Taiwan 4 months ago, she signed a 3-year contract with a jobs broker that placed her into a Taiwanese home. The broker helped her get a visa and all the necessary documents to work in Taiwan. Over 95% of migrant workers use the system to find work. They must pay an initial recruitment cost and continuing monthly fees to the broker for the entirety of the contract.
Every month, we have a 2-year contract here, right? So every month, for the first year, we're paying 1,800 NT for the first year. For the second year, 1,700 NT. And for the third year, 1,500 NT.
The average monthly salary for a migrant caregiver is a little over 20,000 NT or $670 US. Broker fees account for almost 10% of their salaries. According to the 2022 Taiwan Human Rights Report by the U.S. State Department, some brokers exploit migrant workers with such high fees, leaving the workers burdened with debt. Researchers at the Taiwan International Workers Association, a migrant worker activist organization, say workers can also face many unexpected fees. Some even owe their brokers up to $7,000 US. Migrant worker activists have called for the broker system to be abolished altogether.
The system is not only exploitatory, it's evil. This system just put the chains and shackles on migrant workers. They don't have freedom at all. They have to rely on the brokers totally. So from each move, they have, from the start, they have to rely everything on the brokers. They cannot do anything by themselves.
Taiwan's labor ministry is working with migrant workers' home countries so they can be hired directly and won't be stuck having to pay extravagant fees. But many of those countries require the use of brokers.
其实在来源国的部分哦，有一些就是他们自己母国国内法的规定，他会去规定说有一些业别，他会强制说你一定要用这个中介的方式引进。
Migrants are essential to Taiwan's economy. They work as home caregivers, work in factories, and tackle dangerous fishery jobs. To try and attract more foreign talent, the Ministry of Labor announced last year it would ease measures for migrant workers to gain residency. That means more agency for them to choose where they live and where they work. But without dismantling the broker system and removing the middle person, that means it would make it even harder for migrant workers to send money back home and support their families. Ricky and Bing Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, a pod of critically endangered dolphins has been spotted off Taiwan's coast.
Thanks for watching Taiwan Plus. For more great stories from Taiwan's outlying islands of Matsu and around the world, follow Taiwan Plus on social media.
Welcome back. You're watching Taiwan Plus News. In world news, former U.S. President Donald Trump has arrived in New York a day ahead of his historic first court appearance on Tuesday. As Rick Lauer reports, it's a legal battle that could seal his political fate.
Donald Trump enters Trump Tower in New York. He's in the city for a historic court appearance on Tuesday. Trump is the first former U.S. president to face criminal charges. His journey from his home in Florida to Manhattan was watched around the globe. The divisive figure is still creating headlines and has considerable support. He's making another bid for the White House in the 2024 elections.
I will forever support this beautiful man who saved our country one time, and he's going to do it again. God bless President Trump.
According to US media reports, the former president faces 30 charges related to business fraud. Investigations center on a $130,000 payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels, who says she was paid to keep silent about a sexual encounter she had with Trump. Prosecutors believe he may have falsified business records to make the payment. But Trump says he is innocent and denies any relations with Daniels. A day before the hearing, he came out swinging against New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg on his own social media platform Truth Social. "No crime by Trump, what a mess. Bragg should resign now," he wrote. Trump has encouraged supporters to protest the indictment. There are concerns of violence like the storming of Congress in 2021 following his election defeat.
Our message is clear and simple. Control yourselves. New York City is our home, not a playground for your misplaced anger.
The exact charges will be disclosed at this week's hearing.
This is going to be a really extraordinary mix of legal and political issues that we'll see in the country. Obviously, there is the legal case that's unfolding in New York, where we will learn more details about that prosecution of Donald Trump, that unprecedented prosecution, what sort of prison time he could face if convicted, if any, how many charges, how many counts. And so that legal process will exist on Tuesday. But by the same token, there's, of course, this parallel political proceeding where we can expect the former president to try to paint the prosecution as politically motivated and try to rally support from his, large base of supporters.
This unprecedented legal battle comes as the US gears up for the 2024 presidential elections, and how the court case unfolds could seal Donald Trump's political fate, landing him in the White House or the jailhouse. Patrick Chen and Rick Lauert for Taiwan Plus.
Across the Pacific, Australia has banned TikTok from government devices. The Attorney General's office announced the decision on Tuesday. It says TikTok poses security and privacy risks because of the amount of data it collects. TikTok is owned by a Chinese company called ByteDance. Some governments say they are worried that China could force ByteDance to hand over TikTok user data. ByteDance says it collects the same amount of data as other social media apps and that it does not share it with Beijing. Australia's ban makes it the last country in the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance to bar TikTok. Under Five Eyes, Australian spy agencies share information with the US, the UK, Canada, and New Zealand. People in all of those countries can still use TikTok on their personal phones. Over in Europe, Finland has been cleared to join NATO, the world's biggest military alliance. The country is due to become the 31st member of NATO on Tuesday. Finland and Sweden applied for membership of the transatlantic alliance last May, abandoning decades of military neutrality after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Finland shares a 1,300-kilometer border with Russia. Moscow says it will up its border defenses in response to Finland's acceptance into the alliance. Russian President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly accused NATO of provoking Moscow to wage war in Ukraine. Back in Taiwan, people here have been enjoying a 5-day long weekend. During the holiday, 3 major musical events were held in the southern city of Kaohsiung. Our reporter Yvonne Yang went to the Megaport Festival to find out more.
The beginning of April is the tomb-sweeping national holiday in Taiwan, and this year is an especially long 5-day break. It's traditionally a time to pay respects to your ancestors, but these days, it's also a chance to let your hair down. And where better than the southern port city of Kaohsiung, which this weekend had sun, sea, and 3 major music events. Concerts by indigenous diva Ame and legendary rock band Mayday, and the jewel in the crown, the Megapore Festival. Since it started in 2006, Megapore Festival had grown to become one of the most iconic music festivals in Taiwan. This year's event is the first since Taiwan's strict COVID border controls were lifted. And that meant the return of international bands like Bombing Tiger, Stutz, and Ali. Plus, fans don't need to wear face masks anymore. There's something for everyone at Megaport. A playground for kids, various booths selling food and drinks, a barbershop, massages, and even a special karaoke booth that gives music fans a taste of what it's like to sing on the Megaport stage. Taiwan's rock fans are known for helping to push progressive policies such as gay marriage. Right next to the karaoke booth is the NGO Village, featuring organizations like Amnesty International, the Judicial Reform Foundation, 140, and Taiwan Corrections Union.
司改会是一个冤案救援跟法案推动的团体，那主要是在做个案的申诉。那像法案的部分的话，会有国会的游说，那其他还有包含像法治教育会进入校园做演讲，对，然后或者是模拟法庭等等。
我们运政工会主要是由一群跟监所相关业务的同仁，比如说戒护人员，比如说管理员或社工。那我们希望是能够集结大家，进行一个小的组织来去提升大家的工作权益。
在大港本身，它的定位上就比较给人的感觉是比较包容性比较高的。那会来参加音乐季的人，其实他对于社运本身或社会议题的认识本来就有一定的程度。
But of course, music is the main draw of the Megapore Festival. All the hottest music acts in Taiwan performed: Flash Juicer, Sunset Roller Coaster, and the headliner, Sonic.
I'm crossing the Great Harbor Bridge on my way to the main stage. The Kaohsiung City government built this bridge to accommodate the festival when it got too big for its original space a few years ago. And you can see from here how vast the current venue is.
The highlight of the festival was Metal Band Sonic's joint performance with Collage, a music duo who won Best New Artist at the Golden Melody Awards in 2022. Those are Taiwan's most prestigious music awards, the equivalent of the Grammys in the US. THONIC is Taiwan's most famous metal band, and not just for its music. Lead singer Freddie Lim is also a lawmaker and staunch advocate of Taiwan independence. His politics are clear in THONIC's songs, which feature stories from Taiwan's history, especially the atrocities of the martial law era. That's why their fans throw so-called ghost money during the show, a gesture to mourn those who lost their lives. Despite their award-winning status, Collage rarely perform or even appear in public. That made this chance to see them performing live with legends of Taiwanese rock music even more meaningful for the fans here. And judging by the looks on the faces of everyone who came, this musical getaway was the perfect start to the long holiday. Tama Shi, Klein Wang, Yujing Huang, and Ivan Yang for TaiwanPlus.
From music to animals, a pod of critically endangered white dolphins has been spotted off the west coast of Taiwan. In a rare sighting, the Coast Guard saw between 6 and 8 of the dolphins over the weekend in the sea near Yunnan County. The Taiwanese white dolphin is native to Taiwan's waters and is critically endangered. Its numbers have dropped from around 80 to 60 in the last decade. The Taiwan Cetacean Society, which advocates for the protection of dolphins and other sea mammals, says this decrease is due to human disruption of the animal's habitat. Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. Remember to download the Taiwan Plus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out these shots of the Big Air Kitesurfing World Cup season opening in France. I'm Eric Gao. Take care and see you next time.